Alan, may I ask you a question?
Sure, anything you like.
Ever since breakfast, you've been grinning like a Cheshire cat. Now, I assume it's not the breakfast, because there was certainly nothing out of the ordinary about that.
No, sir, I am savoring the taste of victory. Lorena's palimony suit was going to be a big threat. It has now been eliminated. I mean, you should be grinning as well.
All right, well, thank you very much. And, you know where I am if you need to get me. Okay, all right. Just checked on Tony, and from the looks of it, you could call the heart surgery a success.
What about the craniectomy?
The what?
Well, he has a bullet implanted in his brain, Edward, and they're monitoring his vital signs, waiting to see if he can tolerate brain surgery.
Yeah, it sounds harrowing.
It is. You look tired.
I am tired. Now, if you don't mind, I think I'll go up and take a nap.
Before you do, Monica,
What?
Alan seems to be under the impression that we have no further worry in this matter of how Jimmy Lee extracted $20 million from this family.
We don't, sir. I mean, because of the brilliant teamwork, this problem has been eliminated.
I'm really sorry, Edward. I can't really even think right now. I'm so exhausted.
You're going to have to think, Monica, because as usual, Alan is wrong.
Frankly, I really don't see why either of you are worrying about Jimmy Lee and Lorena. They're back together.
That's right, and the palimony suit is gone, right?
Yes, it is gone. That problem is over. There is no suit. There is no threat to us. So could I please go to sleep now?
You know, I don't say this very often, Monica, but your thinking is about as addle-brained as Alan's.
I think that's very unfair. Monica's thinking is not addle-brained.
Thank you, Alan. Neither is yours some of the time.
I'm merely trying to point out that getting Jimmy Lee and Lorena back together again is a half measure at best. Now, the real solution to our problem relies on getting Grant and Celia back.
Fine. That's a very neat trick, Edward. How do you propose to do it?
Well, I'll tell you how it's not going to happen. It's by sitting around twiddling our thumbs, waiting for Grant to get rich on this harebrained scheme with Sean Donnelly.
Let me tell you, that is not a harebrained scheme because I happen to be his partner. And I tell you, we stand to make a fortune.
Oh, you should both live so long. Look, you share 48% of that medical rowboat. Is that correct?
That rowboat happens to be a seagoing class medical showroom that is going to yield staggering profits.
Yeah, for Sean Donnelly, perhaps. As I recall, he kept 52% for himself. Is that correct?
Yes, but...
Well, save your breath. You and Grant are going to be lucky to get away with lunch money.
You know what? You're upset because you're not in on it.
Oh.
Alan is absolutely right, Edward. You always get in a stew when someone makes a killing and you are not in on it.
That is totally beside the point.
What is the point? I have lost track completely.
The point is, we have to see to it that Grant and Celia are closer than ever before. Now, any ideas?
Edward, I'll think about it. I really will. But right now, I have to get some sleep and stop worrying about Tony Jones.
By the way, who shot him? I mean, it wasn't clear in the papers.
No, they're not sure.
Well, was it that Peter somebody or other? You know, the man they're looking for?
Perhaps. Robert Scopio is on the case, so that's always the beginning of the end.
Well, you better have an explanation for this summons, Monica. Rushing home at midday is not part of my routine.
Nor mine.
I do have an explanation, a very good one. I think I've come up with a brilliant idea that will solve all of our problems. I visited Celia earlier today. Do you know how excited she is about this art show?
You called us all the way back here to tell us that?
No, not just that. But while I was talking to Celia, I had an extraordinary idea. I think I know exactly how Grant can endear himself to her, and they will get so much closer to reconciling you wouldn't believe it.
What's your thought?
My thought is that we have to get Grant to let Celia know how much he really cares for her. And the best way to do that is for him to give her a party on the opening night of her art show. Now, wait a minute before you say anything. Let me tell you, not just a party, a Class A party, with caterers, with champagne, with the works, and with an invitation to every major art critic in Manhattan.
That's ridiculous.
Well, as usual, Alan, I don't agree with you. I think it's a very sound idea. At least it'll show Celia how much Grant appreciates her.
I'll tell you why it's ridiculous. Because Grant doesn't have enough money to be able to afford a party like that.
I know that, my darling, but we do.
Oh, I knew whatever you had in mind would cost us money.
Edward, you want Celia and Grant back together, right? Well, footing the bill for this party would be a very good investment.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
Thank you very much, Edward. How about you, Alan?
It's still ridiculous, and I'll tell you the one thing you forgot about. You forgot about Grant's pride. He won't let you do it, Monica.
I didn't forget about it. I'm one step ahead of you. I know the one person who will get him to do it.
Who?
Lila. She's always had a very special fondness for Grant, as he has for her.
Yeah. Lila, of course. Monica, once again, I congratulate you.
Thank you again. Always trying to keep my shoulder right to the wheel, Edward. Now, Alan, do you have any more cold water you want to throw on the idea?
No. Unfortunately, I have to admit I think you've done some very good work. However, you did omit one particular detail that's very important.
What?
It should be black tie. Hello.
Good, you are home. How is Tony?
What was the last thing you heard?
Well, that he was out of heart surgery and in a coma.
He's still in a coma.
He's not worse.
He's not worse, he's not better. He's in what you might call a holding pattern.
Can't they do anything?
Well, unfortunately, Edward, this is a very painful time for doctors when they must face their limitations.
I thought you'd be asleep by now.
Well, I was, but actually, I really shouldn't have bothered.
Why?
Well, she took our problems to bed with her, namely Jimmy Lee and Celia. They popped up in her dreams as a lawfully wedded man and wife. I'll probably dream chapter 2 of that dream tonight, picking up where Monica left off.
I really don't think there's such cause for pessimism, Father.
Alan, Lorena is still living in this house.
Yes, but she's made up with Jimmy Lee.
So why isn't she living with Jimmy Lee?
I don't know. That's her problem. Our problem is to reconcile Grant and Celia, and I thought that we had agreed that Mother was our solution.
Yes, and that is just as far as we got.
Well, let's get the show on the road.
Yes.
All right. Let's find Lila and start enlisting her.
She's down at the greenhouse.
All right, I'll go get her.
Wait, Alan, wait a minute. Look, reconciling Grant and Celia is difficult at best. Getting Lila to do anything at all that smacks of deception is a lot more difficult.
It's not deception. We're just asking her to make a generous gesture, that's all.
Alan, we are asking her to cajole Grant to let her throw a party that Celia is going to think that Grant paid for. Now, what do you call that?
Deception.
Thank you very much, just so no one is misunderstood.
But I don't think it matters at all, Monica. I mean, the idea is good enough that we reconcile Grant and Celia, and I think that's all that matters.
Okay, fine. So, who wants to convince Lila?
Well, I'm the logical choice.
Why?
Well, number one, she's my wife, and second, she owes me. I mean, Lila has never been willing to participate in any of my schemes, so now is the time.
Edward, no. I don't think we should take any chances with this one. No, I think Alan and I will do that.
No, I think that's a very good idea because, you know what? Coming from the two of us, it's going to look like an honest, sincere gesture.
Well, shall I leave, or am I permitted to be here while you two utterly sincere people con my wife?
Edward, you are more than welcome to be here.
Okay. Now, as soon as she gets back from the greenhouse. Now, remember, stress her fondness for Grant and Celia, huh?
So there's nothing that can be done for Dr. Jones?
No, Lila, I'm afraid we're just going to have to wait it out right now.
Yeah, it's not that we're giving up hope, Mother. It's just the very nature of a post-operative coma.
Oh, dear. All those flowers. I'd hoped that we could send over a nice big arrangement for him.
Well, perhaps we can later.
It does make one feel very, very helpless.
Well, especially a person like you, darling.
What do you mean by that?
Well, he means, Lila, because you are a woman of action. When you see that someone needs help, you want to help them.
That's Mother for sure. When there's a cause, you're right there, aren't you?
Well, if it's a good cause.
Well, there's certainly plenty going around these days, that's for sure. In fact, there's one right on our front doorstep.
Don't tell me that there's a cause that I'm not aware of.
Oh, no. I was just thinking about Celia and Grant.
Oh, Celia and Grant. Oh, well, I'm certainly aware of their troubles. They haven't made a secret of it.
Well, it sounds to me like that marriage is doomed. I mean, if it's not over with already.
Edward!
Well, it's the truth, Monica. Nothing's ever going to get those two back together again. You can save your energy.
Now, excuse me. I disagree with you. I think that marriage is worth saving.
Wishing is not going to make it so.
I have to agree with Edward.
All right, go ahead. If you'll excuse me.
Father, no. I think that you better just stay right here for a little while. You know, Monica and I, we were talking earlier on, and she came up with an idea I think is extremely worthwhile, and I really think we could reconcile Grant and Celia.
Yeah, well, I hope it doesn't involve me, because I'm not a very good sport when it comes to suffering defeat.
Well, don't worry about that, Edward, because the plan would not work if you were involved, I assure you of that.
What does that mean?
It would only work if Mother was involved.
Me?
Yes, you, Mother. You see, you're the only Quartermain that Grant and Celia actually would trust.
Oh, but Grant is terribly bitter now. I don't think he'd listen to me either.
Well, he's terribly fond of you, darling.
What is it that you want me to do?
Well, Lila, I was thinking that you could persuade Grant to throw a very lavish party for Celia the night of her art show opening in New York. Don't you think that would help get them back together?
I do.
Well, I'm sure she'd be very touched. What do you think, Edward?
Well, I wash my hands of it, eh?
Oh, don't be so negative. You know, the more I think about it...
Well, the more you should realize that Grant couldn't even afford a party like this in the first place.
He may not be able to, Edward, but the Quartermains can.
What?
That's where Mother comes in.
Yes, Lila. I mean, you could convince Grant to let you foot the bill for the party. I mean, he'd accept a gesture like that from you.
But only from you, Mother.
Oh, really? He is so desperate to get Celia back. What do you think about it, Edward?
Well, I suppose it might work.
I think it's a wonderful idea, even if it is a bit sneaky.
So you'll do it?
You will pay the bill, Edward. It's a worthy cause.
Oh, well, all right, Lila, if you insist.
I do. And I shall be delighted to talk to Grant about it.